How much would you pay for absolutely nothing? Sounds absurd, right? But in 2021, someone spent $18,300 on exactly that, an invisible sculpture that exists purely in our imagination. I'm your host from Art Explained, simply and quickly. And today, we're diving into one of the most controversial artworks of recent times, Salvatore Garau's Io Sono, or I Am. A masterpiece made of literally nothing. Before you dismiss this as a joke or a scam, let me take you on a journey that will challenge everything you think you know about art. When Italian artist Salvatore Garau unveiled his invisible sculpture, the art world didn't just raise eyebrows, it opened its wallets. But what exactly were they buying? The answer is more complex and fascinating than you might think. According to Garau, Io Sono isn't empty space at all. It's a concentration of energy, thoughts, and possibilities condensed into a precise point in space. Think about that for a moment. When you walk into an empty room, is it really empty? Or is it filled with air molecules, light waves, potential energy, and the weight of your own thoughts and expectations? Let's dive deeper into what makes this artwork so revolutionary. First, there's the matter of the documentation. The buyer received two crucial items, a certificate of authenticity and a set of precise instructions. These aren't just formalities, they're actually part of the artwork itself. The certificate isn't just proving ownership, it's transforming empty space into art through the power of documentation and intention. The instructions are fascinatingly specific. The sculpture must be displayed in a private home in an unobstructed space measuring exactly 5 by 5 feet. Nothing can occupy this space, it must remain perfectly empty. But think about what that means. In today's world of cluttered homes and maximized space, dedicating 25 square feet to absolutely nothing is a radical act. Let's dive into the quantum physics connection that makes this piece even more fascinating. Garau bases his concept on the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, a cornerstone of quantum mechanics. When scientists look at the smallest possible scales of reality, they find something mind-bending. Even in complete vacuum, there's energy that has weight that transforms into particles. Empty space isn't really empty at all. It's teeming with quantum fluctuations, virtual particles popping in and out of existence. Think about how revolutionary this is in art history. For centuries, sculpture was defined by material. Michelangelo's marble, Rodin's bronze, Richard Serra's steel. But Garau turns this tradition on its head. He's not just removing the material, he's asking us to consider if materiality was ever the point of art in the first place. Io Sono wasn't created in isolation. Let's trace Garau's journey through invisible art. In February 2021, he unveiled Buddha in Contemplation in Milan's Piazza della Scala. The only marker, a simple square of tape on the cobblestones. Think about that location, a historic plaza where tourists expect to see grand statues and architecture. Instead, they're confronted with nothing but their own imagination. Just a week later, Garau took his concept to the epicenter of capitalism, the New York Stock Exchange. There he installed Aphrodite cries, marked only by a white circle on the ground. The irony is delicious. In front of a building dedicated to assigning value to intangible things like stocks and futures, he places an artwork that questions the very nature of value itself. But it's his 2023 installations in Jerusalem that take this concept to its spiritual apex. Two invisible sculptures titled Love, Immense Love. One near the Western Wall, another on the Temple Mount. Garau claims they're made of the same material that love itself is made of. In a city defined by faith in the unseen, these invisible sculptures take on profound new meaning. Let's talk about the art market aspects, because they're crucial to understanding this piece. When Io Sono went to auction at Art-Rite, it was valued between 6,000 and 9,000 euros. It ultimately sold for 15,000 euros. But what determines this value? In traditional art, we might point to materials, technique, or historical significance. Here, we're forced to confront the reality that art's value has always been more about ideas than materials. The controversy surrounding these works reveals something fascinating about human nature. Critics cry fraud, calling it a sophisticated scam. Others defend it as conceptual brilliance. But here's what's interesting. Both reactions prove the artwork's power. Whether you're outraged or inspired, you're engaging with the fundamental questions Garau is raising. This isn't the first time artists have played with nothingness. In 1958, Yves Klein exhibited The Void, an empty gallery. In 1969, Robert Barry created Inert Gas Series, releasing invisible noble gases into the atmosphere. John Cage's famous composition, 4 minutes and 33 seconds, is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. Garau stands in this proud tradition of artists who make us question our assumptions about art. The documentation process for these invisible works is fascinating. Each comes with specific dimensions and installation requirements. For Io Sono, the 5 by 5 foot space must remain completely unobstructed. No furniture, no decorations, not even a plant. Think about maintaining that empty space in your home. It becomes a kind of performance art, a daily practice of preserving nothingness. Let's consider the philosophical implications. When you buy an invisible sculpture, what exactly do you own? The space itself? The idea? The right to display nothing in a specific way? It raises questions about ownership, authenticity, and the nature of art itself. In a digital age where NFTs sell for millions, perhaps an invisible sculpture isn't so far-fetched. The public installations of these works create fascinating social experiments. Watch people encounter the marked spaces in Milan or New York. Some walk right through, oblivious. Others stop, contemplate, take photos of nothing. Some even claim they can feel something in the space. Each reaction becomes part of the artwork itself. Consider how these works challenge our Instagram-driven, visually saturated culture. In a world where everything must be photographed and shared, how do you capture nothing? How do you influence people with emptiness? Garau forces us to confront our addiction to the visible. The success of Io Sono has sparked a broader conversation about value in the art world. If someone will pay $18,300 for an invisible sculpture, what does that say about other art valuations? About the market itself? About our society's relationship with material possessions? Let's examine the exhibition requirements more closely. The 5 by 5 foot space isn't arbitrary. It's human scale. Large enough to step into, but small enough to comprehend. It creates what Garau calls a sphere of concentrated energy. The emptiness becomes a kind of portal, inviting viewers to project their own ideas into the void. These invisible sculptures also challenge traditional art conservation. How do you preserve nothing? How do you restore it? How do you transport it? These seemingly absurd questions actually highlight important issues about permanence and impermanence in art. If you'd like to understand and know more about art, follow this channel. And before you go, let us know in the comments which artwork you'd like to see explained next. Let's keep exploring the fascinating world of art together.